The third principle is that the stages that children go through are generally consistent in their order. In other words, you're going to go through solitary play, playing by yourself, before you start playing in parallel. That's another stage of social play, where children play side by side but don't necessarily share their toys. Each one would have a car, they each play with the car side by side, but they don't necessarily interact. And you'll watch kids, they model off of each other, they look to see what the other child is doing and they do the same thing. That's parallel play. The next level of play in a progression or in that stage is associative play, where they play side by side, maybe with the same item. Maybe there is a little bit of sharing of the truck or sharing of the blocks. So they're beginning to work together just a little bit. That's associative play. And then the final level of play in the social order would be cooperative play, where they begin to share roles. You be the mom, I'll be the dad. You be the teacher, I'll be the student. That's a very complex type of social play, and it doesn't happen usually until children are late 3, 4, and it really blossoms in those preschool years. By the way, there was an article in New York Times that I read yesterday that talks about how important dramatic play is at helping children develop an executive function. In other words, the ability to say no to certain thoughts and say yes to other thoughts, to have some self-control. So dramatic play is a very important stage of play, and one that I would encourage in any preschool setting. So the point is that children will go through those stages generally all in that same progression, but not necessarily at the same time. Just like my friend who had the 2-year-old who talked in full sentences but didn't start until they were 2. He didn't really go through the normal stages, but he progressed through them mentally in his own mind, and then when he started producing language, it was mature. So that's something to watch for as we observe children play. Knowing and being confident that they will go through those stages gives us confidence, but we don't expect a child to go through those stages at the same time. So you may have some children who only want to come in and play by themselves, or solitary play. That's okay. And then some kids who are eager to join in and create scenarios for other children. You can kind of pick up the leaders there in that regard. It's also common, let's use that same example with solitary play versus cooperative play or associative play. Children in a new setting, when they come in the first time, so a lot of our visitors, they're going to be timid, so their natural way to play might be to watch others. It's called onlooker. It's part of solitary play. And children will just sit back and watch, and that's okay too, particularly for those who are timid. If a child has a trauma in their life, they'll regress to an earlier stage. So one way to know that something's going on in a child's life is as you watch them, if they play maturely and then come into your room one day and having a bad day, you know, perhaps they wet their clothes, they just take several steps back. That's an indication there might be some trauma going on. Maybe there's a new baby in the house. Maybe there's stress at home between mom and dad. Maybe dad got a new job and is gone a lot. So there's all kinds of things that might cause that trauma. But that's something for us to watch for, and we can read that in the way children play. And that brings us really to the last one, is that traumatic events will cause a child to regress. A child, as I've just said, for a variety of reasons, may go back to an earlier level of activity or play and do things that are not characteristic for them. Our job, certainly as teachers in a Christian environment, is to show the mercy of God, the love of Christ. Aren't you glad that God shows that kind of mercy for us when we have a bad day or when we step back in our walk with Him? I love the verse that says that His mercies are new every morning, because I need His mercy every day. It needs to be new today, because I'm going to mess up in ways I didn't mess up before. Things that I'm over, I still go back and visit. These things should cause us to have great patience as teachers, and really should also let us, or cause us, to seek the Lord's wisdom as we observe children. That's the first thing we want to do, is observe closely, because we need to pick up these clues. We can't really be effective teachers if we're not observing our children closely. Remember, these are God's creations, and they're magnificent, and we're going to interact with them. We need to interact from a position of knowledge and wisdom. It's great just to remember that these kids are of infinite value to God, that if we didn't live, if no one on earth lived but maybe those children that you care for, God would still send His Son to die for them and to redeem them and to bring them into His kingdom. He knows them inside out. He knows what's going on in their lives, and He knows where He wants them to go. That verse that tells us to train up a child in the way he should go really is telling us that we should be watching for signs of how a child should grow. And as parents particularly, and teachers as we help those parents, help them find that way that they should go, a way that God plans for them. And show them, help them find the strengths and remind them that God has made them strong in this area, and to celebrate that fact. And to point out the strengths of others so that they can celebrate that someone else is good at this. And isn't that amazing how God gave your friend this ability to do this or that? Okay, so here's my challenge to you. As part of this need to observe, I'm going to ask you to do something over the next few weeks. I'd like you to get a little notebook, a little spiral notebook. I'll have some notepads here in the preschool area when you come Sunday, if you didn't bring one yourself. I'd rather have you have your own little spiral notebook, but whatever, get a little notebook and decide a child that you want to observe this Sunday. And you may not know when you get here, but somebody will catch your eye. Observe that child and just note some things about them. Give yourself a chance to stand back and observe your children at play, and just revel in the uniqueness of your children. Make some notes about them. Here's some examples. Maybe they hopped on one foot, and that's something new for them. Maybe they wanted to show you that. Maybe they showed empathy for another child, that one child got hurt or had a problem, and another child went over to comfort them, to pat them on the back. Maybe they learned to share for the first time, and they actually gave up something that was important to them. Maybe if you're watching an infant, maybe they grabbed something for the first time and let it go. That's a big step for a baby, for an infant, because they don't usually have the motor control to release something. They can grab it, but then they have to lose focus and intentionally let it go. Most of the time when they let it go, it's because they've become attracted by something else that was important to them. As you make those observations and write them down in your notebook, resolve to share that information with the parent if you get a chance to see them at the end of the session or maybe the next day. Maybe it's something that is so cool that you wanted to call them about it. I've done that, and I'll tell you, you win a friend for life when you do that. When you point out something really amazing about a parent's child, they'll remember you forever for that. When you do that, you'll give glory to God, the creator of that child, as you're watching for those unique qualities that God has built into them. And you're going to make an important connection with a parent when you do that. I just give you this guarantee. If you do this once and make notes and then share information with a parent, particularly positive information, you're going to do this over and over again. It'll hook you on that. It'll be something you want to do every Sunday. And so I hope you will do that every Sunday, that every Sunday maybe pick out a different child and watch for something that God has built into them. So I don't know how long that took. I'm trying to keep this in 10-minute segments, so thank you very much for your time. Give me some feedback on this. I'll be sharing through Jeremy how to put this on YouTube, and we'll get that to you soon. God bless you, and thank you again for serving. Bye.